All right. All right, let's do this. Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to quite a big show tonight because, as the thumbnail says, as the title says, big names are no longer safe at Manchester United, and that does extend to Eric Ten Hag as well, after yet another very poor result, very poor performance at the weekend. Things are starting to get a little bit heated at Old Trafford, and I think we're getting pretty close to making a decision. I think a decision's probably already been made, and I think truthfully and honestly, if I had to read between the lines, and this isn't based upon any information that I've received, this isn't upon any information that's currently really out there, I think it's almost nailed on guaranteed that Ten Hag is going to get sacked and Thomas Tuchel is going to be the next manager of Manchester United. That's what I think. That's what I'm reading into it, and that's what I think we are going to go down that way. But look, plenty of things we want to get talking about tonight, guys. Make sure to drop a like on the video as you come in, and as well as that, make sure you get voting on today's poll. We are asking you guys, how many players do you think we're going to sell, or how many will we sell in this upcoming window? Because that's going to be the main theme about tonight. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be happy about this, or somewhat excited about this. Big names for sale. You're looking at Varane going on a free. You're looking at Casemiro. You're looking at Marcus Rashford being quote-unquote not guaranteed to be here next season. United will consider bids that come in for him. Now, I think you have to be realistic. I think you have to look beyond that there. And I think what you have to say is, how many teams out there genuinely can afford £300,000 a week? Not very many. How many of those teams who can afford that amount will pay that amount to Marcus Rashford, need Marcus Rashford, or would want to sign him in this upcoming window? And then the pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's one of those things. It goes against conventions really of market economics, etc., where you think that because you are a better player, because you are a higher value good, a superior good in many regards, that there would be more demand. But in the footballing world, there's less demand because there's less people can afford that amount of wages, who can afford that amount of money, and that's a big thing at the minute. Where do we move these players onto is always going to be key. It's one thing looking to move them on, it's one thing being open to taking offers, it's another thing altogether to actually get them sold and find buyers who can afford it, who we can agree fees with. That's what we've struggled with for a long time. I've had no doubt that there's a lot of players who maybe we should have got rid of, that we've tried to get rid of, or that we would be willing to take offers, but it comes at a cost. These wages we charge, these egos we build, and the amount of money that we spend on these players on the first place makes it very difficult to go turn around and sell them on afterwards. Good evening to Chat Sport, good evening to Luman, and to Jarl as well. Ineos did release a statement saying they will talk about the manager after the FA Cup finals. I think the final he gets another season. I don't think so, man. I really don't. I think you're looking at a Louis van Gaal situation where the FA Cup final will be the last day, and you'll probably start to get news before that there, even as it comes out as well. That's just my thoughts. It might be the opposite, but I think looking into it from my point of view, I think that's what's most realistic. Now, there's a really interesting article that has come out. It's come out from James Tucker. I want to go through this here in some depth tonight, because James Tucker, as we know, he is a top tier source for all Manchester United news, and whenever he speaks, he is someone that I like to listen to, someone that I like to see what he's saying, because he's one of these journalists that might not speak all of the time, but he will typically spend the truth. So I do want to go through this here article by Tucker, by Sami Mokbel as well. Some interesting quotes, some interesting little pieces of news in there as well, and we have stuff from David Ornstein as well, which we'll be of course paying close attention to, and that relates to Marcus Rashford. So whenever we're talking here, first and foremost, James Tucker has said, although United are not actively looking to offload Marcus Rashford in this window, we would give genuine consideration to any credible offer for the struggling England forward, particularly if he indicated a desire to pursue a fresh challenge amidst a torrent of online abuse. So is all this abuse going to mean Marcus Rashford goes? I mean, personally, I would be pretty surprised. I don't know if it's going to come to that straight away. I think he is maybe less sellable than what he was a year ago. And I think you got to look at the market. Who out there has that money? Who out there is going to spend that money? Who out there is going to want Marcus Rashford? The obvious one's going to be PSG. PSG's losing Mbappe. They're losing that left hand that sort of like left wing strike type role, who they can get a lot of goals out of. They're going to be losing that type of player. Do they go for Rashford? They've had prior interest. It has been there. Will they go for him? I think I would be quite surprised. And it's part of the reason I don't necessarily see Marcus Rashford leaving the club this year. I think just a lack of options out there that he would consider, and who would also, in return, consider him. Now, someone like Casemiro is a more sellable player, because I think then you start to target more of the quote-unquote retirement home leagues. You start to look maybe and say, is there going to be interest from Saudi Arabia here? Because right now you're looking at a 2 or 3 year deal left. You still got a lot of money to pay him in terms of his wages. You have a lot of money to pay off in terms of his overall transfer fee. It might be a good idea to cash in, because the legs have clearly gone. The ability is starting to decline, and you're still looking at paying 60, 70 million pounds to see him through to the end of his contract. So for me, it's a no-brainer sale. It's an absolutely no-brainer sale, that there one for Casemiro, and I hope that is a deal we do. I really do. Now, Chatsport said Spurs would be a nice choice. Spurs have the Kane money and wages. I don't think they're going to go for Marcus Rashford, to be honest, man. I could see them going for someone. You could see them go for a striker, maybe. And Ivan Toney, perhaps, could be an interesting one for Spurs. Someone like that would probably suit what Ange has got there at the moment. I just can't see Rashford being that guy, to be honest. I think he's too similar to Son in the kind of areas that he does pick up. Some exciting news in terms of incomings, though, and this is maybe something to keep an eye out on. Young talents such as Bayern Munich's Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz of United, of Bayer Leverkusen, could be on the market this summer and would be of interest to Manchester United. We're talking then, of course, about players set to go as free agents. We got 3 of them. We're looking at Varane, we're looking Martial, and we're looking Brandon Williams, a player who many people, including myself sometimes, forgets is still on our books. We're still paying for him, even though he's at Ipswich Town. So yeah, I would expect him to be moved on in this upcoming window. So that's going to be 3 players going very quickly. And according to Tuchel as well, United are prepared to listen to offers for the vast majority of the first team in the squad, apart from a clutch of rising stars such as Alejandro Garnacho, Kobe Manu, Rasmus Højlund, as well as club captain Bruno Fernandes. So that gives us 3 or 4 players who are definitely safe. Now, I think if you want to look beyond that, there's players we will not be selling this summer. No doubt about it. Onana's not going to get sold. We will not be selling Lisandro Martinez, for instance. We will not be selling somebody like Mason Mount. Those players are not going to get sold. Those players are not going to be moved on. But I do think it's good that we will at least contemplate offers for the vast majority of the squad. You could look at players who played a lot this season as potential sales. Beyond even your Donny van de Beeks, or beyond even like your Palistris or anyone, McTominay could be a credible option to be sold. Harry Maguire could be a credible option to be sold. Christian Eriksen, another one perhaps. Could listen to offers for Anthony if any do come. Amad Diallo could be considered. You look in the midfield, Casemiro, I expect him to go, but you could look as well at Eriksen going, McTominay going, centre half, Varane probably going to go, but Lindelof could leave as well. You could see Maguire leave. You might see Wan-Bissaka sold. You could see changes in all the fullback areas as well. I think you're going to see a big summer of change. And that's why I'm asking you guys, how many sales do you think we realistically can pull off in this upcoming window? Do you think it's going to be like 5, maybe 10, 5 to 10? I think that's kind of the max. Or we just then let's just sell every player that we got and we'll start over again. Jarl said Heaton and Evans cannot be added. Also, yeah, I would agree with that, man. I don't think they contribute too much to the squad. I think Evans probably has contributed more than what we want at this moment in time. I could see him retiring and taking up a coaching role, to be honest. Like, I think that could be something maybe you see. Because I don't think the plan was ever to play him as much as he played this season. Now, some other stuff I want to go through from James Tucker as well. Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox are thought to be keeping an open mind to this summer, as they're consciously looking how to be flexible, how to be adapted, and how to be efficient in this upcoming window. Now, obviously, no Dan Ashworth, unfortunately, at this moment in time, unless we get a big breakthrough in the next couple of weeks with Newcastle. I can't see that one happening ahead of this window. I think the whole bringing Newcastle to trial and going through the court of arbitration, you might see some changes there. You could see that fee come down. You could see the gardening leave reduced, whatever. I think that's an interesting one, and one we'll definitely keep an eye out on. But I do think we'll be without Dan Ashworth in this window. Hopefully we get him by the end of the year. I think that's probably a realistic goal. Give it 6 months and we can start again with the full hierarchy in by 2025. So 2 key men in this window. They're going to be Barada and they're going to be Wilcox. Of course, they'll work with the people already involved at Manchester United. I think we're getting Sam Williams as well from Ipswich Town, head of recruitment, to come in and look for some of the more elite level talent to try sign them into the youth academy as well. So probably looking players aged between 15, 16, maybe up to about 18 or 19, possibly 20 as well, to be brought in as young players. So he'll be after elite young level talents, but he won't probably be too involved in the overall squad building. It's going to be Wilcox, it's going to be Barada this year, so let's definitely keep an eye out for them and their moves in the upcoming window. Now, to go back to the big articles and the big stories that we were going through, one of those, of course, is Marcus Rashford. So David Ornstein has also spoke on this one. He said the preference is to keep Marcus Rashford and bring him back to top form. United considered a more feasible option and a more realistic option to get Marcus Rashford back on top form than it is to sell Marcus Rashford, replace him with a player capable of reaching those levels as well. And I think that's an interesting one. It's a point I did make as well on the agenda last week. I think I made it on my own channel on one of our live streams. You know, when we consider it like that, it's probably easier to get Rashford back to that level than it is to sell him in the first place, bring somebody in at a decent or a good price who can come in, acclimatise, fit in to the squad, reach those levels of being able to score 30 goals in a season and actually doing it. I think that's a more difficult task than it is to get Rashford back to top form. That's just my thoughts. You know, it could change. If a big offer comes in, maybe PSG panic, they can't get Rafael Leao as you're being talked about. Maybe they end up going for plan B or plan C and they end up coming in for Rashford. It probably gets considered. It probably does at this point in time. Anyway, look, on the poll, 16 votes, 31% said let's sell all of them. 5 to 10 said is 44%, and we have 25% saying 5 players sold in this upcoming window. I think those players are always going to go on the freeze as well. I don't think we have to be too concerned with them. You know, I think Varane's gone. I think Martial's gone. Brandon Williams definitely gone. And, you know, those are some of your initial players moved on, freeing up the wage budget. And I think that's probably a smart move, all things considered. But make no mistake about it, we can save a lot of money and we can use that money to reinvest. And with these upcoming changes in terms of the overall wage structure as well, it's probably a good idea. It probably is a good idea. You know, you're looking at Casemiro 300 and something thousand a week. You're looking at Varane 250, Martial 200, 250, Christian Eriksen 180, Brandon Williams somehow is on 90,000 a week, Sancho's on 350,000 a week. Marcus Rashford will be considered for the same reason because he's on that calibre of money. So a lot of players on massive, massive wages, as Premier League clubs have now agreed a principle for a spending cap known as the TV known as anchoring to TV earnings of the bottom club. Manchester City, Manchester United and Aston Villa have voted against it. Chelsea abstained. So we can only spend something like 4.5% of the overall TV revenue of the lowest placed club in the league. So that's going to bring a spending cap. At the minute, United are treading a tightrope with it. You know, we're just about underneath it. City are over it. Chelsea are way over it as well. Aston Villa, miles over it. So, you know, these are things to consider. Chris is down there. Varane on 340k per week. Yeah, look, that's why he's going to be let go, in my opinion, and it's nothing to do with his individual quality. It is nothing to do with his overall ability. It's just going to come down to the fact that it's going to be too much money to offer him a new deal. That's what I think we're going to do. I think we're going to be looking, let go of the older players on bigger wages, bring younger players in on less wages, and fix the books in that there manner. We do have some other stories to bring you guys as well. Sam Muckbell off the Daily Mail has said Ajax are interested in reappointing Ten Hag this summer. He and his coaching staff would be reluctant to walk away from Manchester United. There is a willingness from Ajax board to see how the future develops for him before deciding on their next move. Now, it's likely going to be Graham Potter, but I think that's an interesting story coming out because it was mirrored in pretty reliable Dutch sources. I think it's Mike Verswa, who writes for the Telegraph, very reliable Dutch journalist, and he said that Ajax would be interested in Ten Hag coming back. That could be a smart move, to be fair, for Erik Ten Hag having a job lined up if necessary, because I think that the axe is going to fall on him. I really do, and I think we're into the last couple of weeks of it. The squad don't, we're just showing nothing. We watched that match against Burnley. We did, and we have the manager coming out saying we're playing attacking, dynamic, exciting, entertaining football. Maybe if you're a neutral fan or an opposition fan, because watching United at the minute is not, it's none of those things. It really isn't. But we'll digress and we'll move on to the next story anyway. So even if Ten Hag loses his job at United, there's acknowledgement he may prefer to seek an opportunity at one of Ajax's stronger leagues instead of returning to Ajax. I don't know that's going to happen, to be honest. I think a lot of people will look at what's happened at the minute, but apparently Ineos will not make a call on the future until after the FA Cup final. I think they'll know what they're doing. I think decisions will have been made. You might just get them released, or they might start to feed through. Now, I think it was very unclassy what happened with Louis van Gaal, because he was basically sacked in the tunnel after winning the FA Cup. We don't want to be doing that. We really don't. But according to Pete Hull as well, PSG have cooled their interest in Rashford and are thinking of other targets ahead of the summer window. That's why I think they're going to go for Rafa Leao, to be honest. I would be surprised if they go for Marcus Rashford this year. But one thing I think is guaranteed is Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood will be leaving the club in this upcoming window. So, according to the Times as well, United are hoping to cash in on Greenwood's impressive form this summer. They have not ruled out the possibility of him returning to Old Trafford next season. However, they do acknowledge that it will be very difficult to pick Mason Greenwood in the team again. So I think that's very smart. Greenwood has went to Getafe. He's scored some goals. He's looked pretty good in La Liga. You could move him on if the interest is there. And apparently the interest will be there from Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, those types of clubs might be interested in Greenwood for around about 30 million. That's probably not a bad deal, considering I don't think we can play him. I think it'll be very difficult for him to return to Manchester United, and I also think that those clubs would probably be happy to take him on at that price. That kind of solves our problem. It helps us with our books in this upcoming window, because he's a player I don't think we can play, to be honest. So, and we seen the uproar last season when they tried to bring him back. So, for me, it makes all the sense in the world to let the guy go and hopefully get some kind of transfer fee for him as well. Times are also reporting United will listen to offers for Anthony, Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Victor Lindelof, and Christian Eriksen. More of the names that we did think we would see as well. We do have a quick update as well in the last minute about Scott McTominay. He says, I slipped and fell awkward on my knee, similar against Chelsea. Nothing serious, was a hyperextension, and I was upset and angry because I thought it was worse than it was, hoping to be back on the pitch very soon to help the team as much as possible. So Scott McTominay, not too badly injured. I think that's an interesting one. I got 23 votes on the poll as well. Thanks very much for that one, guys. Who have I got? I got Bart down below. I got Rajat. Good to see you, buddy. How many do you have to sell and how many will you sell? These are two very different questions. They are, man. I think because there's less pressure on us to sell, we're in a much, much better financial position now that we have the FFP links. Sorry, the COVID seasons off the FFP books. I think that's pretty good. And that means that we're not going to be as necessarily needing to sell as much. But I think there's going to be more of a, because we've got a change in the guard, there's going to be more of an acceptance to be able to lose money on players. You're not going to have people's pride and professional reputations put up there. So hopefully we can sell quite a few players. I think in total we've got 3 players definitely leaving in terms of free transfers. Those are Rafa Varane, there Martial, and of course Brandon Williams. Now I think Tom Heaton goes. I think Johnny Evans possibly retires. That's 5. I think Casemiro goes. That's 6. Because I think the Saudis are going to buy him, to be honest. I think Eriksen probably goes. That's going to be 7. I think I mentioned Greenwood. Haven't even talked about Sancho yet. So there's definitely going to be plenty of players going in this upcoming window for sure. Rijad, I believe 85% need to go. They already spent the Kane money, Chad. Yeah, they spent a lot of money last year. I don't know if that's going to happen, to be honest. Bart said sacking him was really similar to the sacking of Van Gaal. Both had difficult second seasons, both blooded the youth, and both reached cup finals. Yeah, it's one of those, man. It's very similar. It's very similar. Rajad said won't get money for MG. Probably going to be another loan. No, I think we sell him this year, man. Chris said, unfortunately, there's a decent chance we lose all remaining Premier League games this season, so Ten Hag could be a dead man walking by the FA Cup final, and I would agree with that as well. The next matches we got is Crystal Palace, who are in a really good run of form. They've bounced back from some disappointing results in early season form, and under the new manager, sorry, they're doing really well. They drew with Fulham at the weekend. They've beat West Ham. They beat Newcastle in recent weeks. Then we play Newcastle United at home. They've beat us twice this season already. You play Arsenal at home. They've already beaten us and could be on their way to a league title by that point. And then we got Brighton, where we haven't won in several years as well. So, it's very conceivable we lose the next 4 matches. And that could be the worst ever points tally for a Manchester United team in history. So we need to get minimum of 4 points, I think, to be able to avoid that fate. Will we do it? It's not guaranteed. It's really not. Big ups to Jordy down there. Good to see you. Thanks very much, man. Bart is down there as well. Greenwood has a high ceiling, but most tier A clubs have good or better attackers. 40 million max. Yeah, I think that's a realistic one. I think they'll look at the talent, they'll look at the ceiling, and they'll say United are kind of in a position where they need to sell. If it wasn't for the controversy, you're probably looking at Greenwood being a key player for the team at this point. If it wasn't for the incident, obviously it did happen, and obviously the right thing for us to do is for him to go. I said this last year, I'll say it again, we cannot bring Mason Greenwood back into this team, and the best thing to do is to sell that player. That's been my view the entire time. I have Jordy down there, big ups. Only 1 point behind you, you're coming. I mean, yeah, Newcastle and Chelsea are both coming for United in the league. Honestly, we can't even beat Burnley, man. Like, only taking 4 points against Sheffield and Burnley at home in back-to-back matches is embarrassing, to be honest. Rashad McTominay is a one-trick pony. McTominay is, but what I will say about Scott McTominay is you got a sellable asset there. Scores 10 goals this season. He's a good Premier League level midfielder, and at a West Ham, at an Everton, I don't know, he could probably play for Newcastle, to be honest. You've got a player there probably worth 35 million pounds, and that's all profit as well. That's all profit because he's a youth academy product. Bart is on there. Newcastle and United are similar clubs. One is the second biggest club in the Northeast, and the other is the second biggest in the Northwest. Just not true, man. Rashad, United better than Poole. Chris said Palace have also beaten us this season. They have. And Rashad said, who are we getting as a wing option? I can't see us bringing in a left winger. I don't think we're going to sell Rashford. I don't think Garnacho's going anywhere. So I think left wing stays as it is. I think if you're looking right wing, I think the best signing you could make there is Elisa. Honestly, I think that's something I really want to see. If you want to look at different options, Bakayoko could be a really good shot. I think he's at Eindhoven at the minute. Would be a really good player for us. Nico Williams, again, really catching the eye for Bilbao this season. Potential there. Matthias Sula for Frosinone. It all depends on what happens with him and Juventus when he goes back there as well. But those are some players you potentially could look at. I think Elise makes most sense. Premier League proven. He's got a release clause, and it's probably time for him to leave Palace. But again, Palace may be becoming an exciting prospect under new management. Have we left it too late? Should we have went for him in the last window? Who knows? Big up to Ashid as well. Thanks for joining in, buddy. Good evening to you. And Bart said, why would McTominay go to West Ham or Everton? He wouldn't take a pay cut, especially with 1 year left in United or his boyhood club. Yeah, I mean, you could make that argument, but I think at a point he's going to say he's 27 years old. Does he want to be the forever squad player? He's not really on that much money either, Bart, to be honest. I think he's still on the original contract he signed when he broke into the United team. Let me just see what his wage is. I think it's let me see. McTominay's on 60 grand a week, man, as well. So like, he's a pretty sustainable player if they do want to go down that route, to be honest. Guys, big ups and 15 likes as well, much appreciated. Let me see, what are you guys saying down below? Rashad, McTominay's Everton West Ham level. Chris said McTominay wouldn't need to take a pay cut. He's only on 60k per week. Yeah, no, it sounds pretty crazy that I'm like referring to like 60k a week as only 60k a week as well. It feels pretty, I know, maybe I'm just so desensitized to numbers that they're just figures at this point. Like 60 grand a week is nothing compared to some. Big ups to Steph down there. 10 players out, starting with the number 10. Matata said, why aren't there more words in action at the minute to keep us busy? It's one of those things, man, because we've got time between matches. We're not exactly playing the best at this moment in time. It's going to take a while for us to get into the summer, and we're still getting the people in that we want to make our big calls in terms of our transfer policies and stuff. The plans will be ongoing. I've no doubt about it. It's got to that point of the season where you have to start talking to players. You have to start getting your deals lined up because you want to have as much done as physically possible before the European Championship starts, so that you're not having to wait until teams get knocked out or whatever to bring people in for their medical, or to even talk to them in the first place. You really don't want that. That's not what we want to see at all. You want to see things done in a quick, orderly manner. Whether or not we can do that is again very questionable. But we're gonna find out, guys. Don't worry. But I think Rashford, as Steph said, he could be a player who goes. I don't know if it's guaranteed at this point. I don't know if he will leave at this point. And I think you've got to look at potential buyers in this scenario as well. You have to say, it's one thing to say, let's sell him. It's another thing finding a club who's going to pay the money we want and to pay for the wages he wants. And he has to be willing to go. There's three things that need to happen in order to make a sale happen. Somebody has to want him. Someone has to agree a price with us, and they have to agree for the player to go. That's always pretty simple as well. It's not always simple. She said Dal and Roddy. What have I got here as well? Steph says 16 likes. Chat Sport said go by Bowen. I mean, Bowen's been impressive this year for West Ham, no doubt about it. I don't know if he's if he's the type of winger that we want, but I think he's a good player. Like I do. Bart said selling Liverpool. Big ups to Dark Crow for joining as well. Guys, we got 28 votes on today's poll. That's a lot of votes. You guys obviously have a lot to say about players who need to sell. How do I recover after watching a United performance? Honestly, man, most times you just sort of stare off into space. Thankfully, I wasn't watching the Burnley match live or anything, but yeah, it wasn't good again. Like, it really wasn't. Rashad is talking about Inaki Williams. I mean, Inaki, you can't fault him in terms of his availability. I think that's definitely a big thing. He's certainly a good player there. Kubo, he's still coming through. Is he not still on the Real Madrid books? Like, is he not still a Madrid player? I don't know. I would have to look that one up, to be honest. I'm not too sure. I thought he was still on their books. But, yeah, I mean, he is another good player. There's plenty of good players in the Liga, and I'm not against us going there in order to get some of these players that we need to bring in. In terms of stats, somebody analysed it. The one of the leagues with the best buy-in and the best ability to adapt in the Premier League is to buy from the Liga. I also think we got to look to the EFL as well, though, because there's some really good players coming through in the Championship, maybe even in League One. Some really good players. You look at Palace, they got Adam Wharton in, looks really good for them. And there's a plethora of players down those leagues that would probably come in and do a good job for us. There really wasn't the adaptations already there. They're already ready for it. Just depends on how good they really are. But if you're a young player dominating in the Championship, then you're obviously made of something. You can see it with Jude Bellingham. You can see it with other players. Could be worth a punt. Could be. What have I got? Bart Bowen has been impressive, but he isn't a chance creator. Also, look at his XG. He's overperforming it. Yeah, it's one of those. Whilst you can definitely make the argument for us needing more finishers, I think we need more chance creators as well, especially in the wide areas, because we don't really tend to make a lot out wide for the likes of Rasmus Højlund. The lack of goals there, the lack of shots that he actually gets, and the lack of chances he gets is directly tied to how our wide players play. They all want to score first. They're not interested in going out there and setting up other people or looking to create first. In other news, guys, Ethan Wheatley scored 2 goals for the under-21s today. Looks very, very promising. Very big guy and a pretty good finisher. He looked pretty interesting in that match we watched during the week against Sheffield United as well. Pressing was good. Gave a couple of fouls away, but I don't mind that. He wanted to get stuck in, and unfortunately he didn't get a chance really to have a shot off. Bart said buying from League One is also a good shot as players are quite physical. Yeah, there is physicality in that league in terms of the intensity. Maybe it's not quite as physically strong of a league, but it certainly is. It's a good league to be buying from. I don't know if I'm too keen about us banning a lot of players in the Bundesliga. I think we've had a lot of busts, and across the Premier League, there's been a lot of busts banned from Bundesliga teams, and a lot more space in German football doesn't always suit everyone making the jump over. Anyway, Rosette wants Brahim Diaz, not Jared Bowen. Steph says we are on 18 likes. Bart is also saying he's worked 12 hours today. Fair play, Bart, man. I mean, I only did 9 hours. Like, I must be slacking off compared to you, man. Rosette said find the next Eze. Yeah, look, that's true, because if you want to go to Crystal Palace or you want to go to someone like that, all of a sudden to get an Eze, to get an Elise, you're talking 50, 60 million, when they might have got them a year or two before for 10 or 15. You know, if there's a gold man of talent there in those leagues, and you absolutely need to be going for it. And that's why I'm glad, you know, we're bringing this guy Williams in from Ipswich. He's been very important in terms of their overall recruitment. He's going to come in and make a difference for us, and hopefully, you know, we can get plenty of players from the AFL and who might be able to fill out the squad, who could be interesting players for us moving forward. Definitely one to watch out for, because I think, you know, if you go and buy a player from the Eredivisie, you're probably talking spending 35, 40 million pounds on players who might flop, when you could get a player of equal quality adapted to English football playing in the Championship. It might be a less prestigious league, it might be a less sexy league. I don't know what it comes down to, like, but definitely for me, there is a lot of players in there that we can go for. Anyway, look, I guess we'll move on from the players coming in, players going out. Let's get talking about somebody else who might be going out, and that is going to be the manager. Now, look, it's nothing new. We've talked about Ten Hag for weeks and months on the channel. I just don't know anymore, guys. I really don't. I think you're looking at a repeat situation with Louis van Gaal and Eric Ten Hag, where the FA Cup final could be the end of their managerial tenures. You know, last season I was a big fan of Eric Ten Hag. I sang his praises. I thought he was pragmatic when he needed to be. He was strong when he had to be. He managed the squad and got a lot out of us last year. Won the won the League Cup. We got to the FA Cup final, quarterfinals of Europa League, and we finished third in the league. You know, that's a brilliant first season. That's as good a first season as you get. But it's so hard to look past what's happened this season and the catalogue of errors we've had, the catalogue of issues we've had in terms of our play and the system that haven't been fixed from match day one. I went back fairly recently, rewatched United versus Wolves at Old Trafford. It was a horrible watch, but it was the same problems in that match as what we've had in our match against Burnley. You know, too much space in the transition, too much opportunities for the opposition, and you know, they get into it, and it's just very frustrating because it's clearly been an issue since then. We haven't changed it. Now, look, I'm someone who was a big fan of Eric Ten Hag last season, and you know, if you go back to old lives or old videos, I'm probably saying, yeah, look, we might have got the right guy in here. I think one thing that we do get with Ten Hag, to be fair, is he's given a lot of young players a chance, which is very good. And we're going to be better off in years to come for Garnacho coming through, for Kobbie Mainoo coming through, for other young players making their breakthrough too. But I think it's very difficult to ignore the form. And the fact that we are 34 matches played with 53 points, a goal difference of 1, we are statistically the worst team in the history of the Champions League for any England team. English team is the worst record anyone had this season. We went out of the League Cup at the first round. We've been out of the league title for months. We've been out of the top 4 race for months. We've even been out of the top 5 race for months. So, you know, there's no guarantee of any European football next season, even Europa League, even Conference League. You know, that's really hard to look past. On one hand, yeah, he's got one of the highest win percentages of any manager post Sir Alex Ferguson. On the same hand, we've lost 17 matches this season. We could conceivably lose the next 4 Premier League matches: Palace, Newcastle, Arsenal and Brighton. We have to go and play City in the FA Cup as well. It's hard to look past all that, and it really is sometimes. I just don't know. I just don't know on Eric Ten Hag at this moment in time, and I would like him to turn it around, but I just don't think he's got it in him. I just don't think he's going to change it, and I think if he could have changed it, he would have changed it by now. I just don't know. I just really don't know, and I think Ineos will make a decision, and I think the decision is going to be that he goes. To be honest, I can't see him being kept on. Look, you guys let me know your thoughts down below, but I think with someone like Tuchel being available, on the market without having to get him out of Bayern Munich. I think that's going to be the move that Ineos go for. I'm going to go through some of these comments. What have I got here? Bart, we don't have the same job, so maybe you're twice as productive. I doubt it. Rajat down there, who are you talking to? What have I got? 19 likes as well. Lemonis Trudeau. Okay. Oh, maybe I missed something there further up. Anyway, I'll have a look at the poll, guys. Give me your thoughts on Ten Hag at this moment in time in the chat. 58% of you guys reckon we're going to sell 5 to 10 in the summer. 15% reckon 5. And 27% are saying them all. Chris agrees, which is always nice to say. I always like getting a little bit of indication. I like people going, yeah, that's a really good point. What's a Matata? Do you fear the FA Cup final will have a big feature in the club? No, not really. As prestigious as the FA Cup once was, there's no getting away from the fact that at the minute and for the last 25, 30 years, it's been the third most important competition. It has. The league's more important. The Champions League's more important. It's one of those. You're in it, so you want to win it. But at the end of the day, it is just a day out at the end of the season to try and compete for a bit of silverware. I don't know how it's going to go. I really don't. Rajat is dreading watching the FA Cup final. Yeah, it's true. Like, I'm not looking forward to it as well in a lot of ways. Steph says, what do you think of just having 2 qualify for Champions League or maybe FA Cup winners, top 4s accepting failure? Yeah, you've got an argument for that as well. Like, when the Champions League first started, it was just like the league champions playing in it, I believe. And then you had the Cup Winners' Cup as well, for people who won the FA Cup, or like the Copa del Rey, the DFB Pokal, and Coppa Italian, all those competitions. That made a lot more sense. Like, it's a lot more commercialized now, and they are trying to shoehorn the biggest teams into it. It's maybe not so much like a European league anymore. It's not really so much as Champions League of sorts. It's just basically along the lines of, let's just put all the big teams from Europe into one competition so they can play each other and get a lot of TV money out of it. That's kind of what it feels like at this moment. What is my prediction for Bayern versus Real first leg? I think Madrid's going to win that one, Rashad. I think Bayern did well to get past Arsenal. It's not been a great season for them. They're a team in transition. I think Madrid go on to win it at this point. I really do. I think it's going to be Madrid PSG final, and I think Madrid win that one. Anyway, let me see the votes. And actually got 20 likes in the video as well. Big ups for that one, guys. I want to quickly go through some more stories that have come out since we've been on. One of those, of course, McTominay. He's hyperextended his knee. It isn't a bad injury. He should be back pretty soon. I think that's probably good for us, because I feel like he's going to play in the FA Cup final. It's going to be needed at some point. And we've got other stories as well that I wouldn't mind going through. Let me see. What was I looking for? Don't know where my thing just disappeared. Or it just disappeared. That's really annoying. Steph says 20 likes, 36 votes on the poll as well. 58% said 5 to 10 players sold in the summer. I would hope you guys are right, to be honest. Rosetta has no idea. I don't know. Like, I'm pretty confident that's going to be the result. Anyway, yeah, this is the story I wanted to go through. United are watching Galatasaray winger Band Alper Yilmaz. I'm not familiar with him. I'm not in number 10 that I know who he is or what kind of a winger he is. I think we will sign some wide players in this upcoming window. Anyway, just in relation to what Bart was saying about Greenwood earlier, you have to look at price tags, you have to look at age and like the missing development years. United are willing to sell Greenwood for 25 to 30 million. I think that's probably going to be about fair enough, because he'll go down as 100% profit. Other players, when you move them on, like Casemiro, you still got to take stuff out of that fee before you can add it to your overall transfer budget. Greenwood, 100% profit. McTominay, 100% profit. That's why you might see them moved on potentially. Chessport said Yilmaz is good. I'm just really not caught up in Turkish football, man. I'm really not, to be honest. Thomas Tuchel is on the radar of the Old Trafford hierarchy as they look for potential options, with Erik Ten Hag's future in serious doubt. I feel bad for Tuchel because he's kind of getting a bad rep at the minute. He is. He's a very talented coach who tends to end up in really bad environments. No doubt about that. When you look at his CV, you look at Dortmund. He fell out with the sporting director or the president of Dortmund because they wanted Dortmund to go on and play the next day after those 3 bombs attempted to be detonated at their bus on the way to a match. He went to PSG. He fell out with Leonardo. Leonardo had Tuchel sacked and then got sacked himself. He then went to Chelsea. When he was at Chelsea, won the Champions League, made it to an FA Cup final, and then Todd Bowley happened, and then he found himself going to Bayern Munich at the wrong time. You know, a team in transition, a lot of their hierarchy quit, and they sacked Julian Nagelsmann, who shouldn't have been sacked. So, yeah, you know, he tends to pick bad jobs. Is this going to be another one? Who knows? Jim Stucker is reporting as well. We are hoping to find a permanent buyer for Sancho in this upcoming window as well. So no surprise on that there one. But we are prepared to listen to the offers for the majority of first team players as well, according to Jim Stucker. That's really important stuff there. You know, we're willing to sell. Let's see what we can do in terms of our sales. Let's see what we can do in terms of that there. And hopefully we can get players moved on. You know, hopefully we can sell quite a few players, because I think it's going to be important that we do free up those budgets. Wan-Bissaka, another one who could be listened to for offers. We're talking here Tapsoba, Branthwaite. These are potential sales. Christian Falk, Tuchel wants to go to Manchester United. He's hotly tipped at the club as well. So, you know, you could see changes coming on that. And there was a weird sort of reaction from Peter Schmeichel last night as well on beIN Sports, and I don't know if it's just him talking shit, to be honest. Like, it might well be. Slim Reaper down there, Villa here. The issue isn't selling, mate. It's getting players to accept less money at clubs, which many mean paying off the contract for a year or two left on them. It is well, man. You know, that's very true. I made that point at the beginning of the show. It's one thing wanting to sell Marcus Rashford, for instance, right? It's another thing trying to find a club who are going to pay the transfer fee that we want for Marcus Rashford, for instance. It's another thing on top of that to find a club who's going to pay him what he wants and that he has to go to. And then it's another thing to get that deal done. So you're 3 distinct parts on this. First of all, you have to find a potential buyer. You have to agree a deal with your buyer, and then you have to hope your player wants to go there in the first place. If the player doesn't want to go, you've got them signed up to a massive contract, a massive wages for many years, and they can't just sit there. And they can sit there, turn up to training, get paid, and just hope that they get back into the team or whatever. You know, you've seen it many times over. You've seen it with Gareth Bale at Real Madrid, probably one of the better known ones. They wanted to offload him. There wasn't a willing buyer. Yeah, he went to Tottenham on loan, but for the most part, he turned up, he went to training, he did his job. He went home, he played for Wales, he played golf. Yeah, that's a situation you can find yourself in. It's not guaranteed. It's absolutely not guaranteed that any of these players go. I think some of them are I think some we will try to move on, and I think some of them we've got a much better chance of moving on than others. I think we've got a better chance of selling McTominay, who's on 60 grand a week, than we do Christian Eriksen, who's on 180,000 a week. I think we've got a better chance of moving Casemiro on to Saudi Arabia than what we might do in terms of finding a buyer for Marcus Rashford or Jadon Sancho, whatever. You know, it's one of those rare ones. It really is. But yeah, I would absolutely take one of all of Villa's midfield, as Chat Sports says. Chat Sports said with the United side, it's impressive to be in a final. It is. Honestly, it is. Rajat wants to see Ignacio and no John McGinn. Very specific there from Rajat. I mean, I don't mind John McGinn, like, but I don't know if he's a United style player. I don't know if he's going to be for what we want, but I don't know where we're going to go with that there one. Rajat said JN was late to training. Who are we talking? Who's JN? Slim Ripper is down there as well. United fans might be underwhelmed. Yeah, I mean, look, last season was underwhelmed because we're paying guys like Donny van de Beek like 90,000 a week and wondering why we can't sell these guys, because no one's going to offer that kind of money. They're going to want they're going to want to be getting decent money, like, and they don't have to take they don't have to take a pay cut if they don't want to. It's one of those ones, because sometimes people aren't overly keen to move, or like end up on a pay cut. Maybe playing football isn't always at the top of everyone's priorities, even if they are pro footballers. It's one of those weird things. You can get that there one. What have I got here? Did I miss something? No, I don't think so. And yeah, actually, I have another story I wanted to go through. It goes Jean-Claude Todibo as well. According to Muppeteers, available for around 40 million euros. At that price, that's a very good price for a centre back as well. Nima is on there. Will you sell Mount? No, I don't think we'll sell Mount. I don't think that's going to happen. I would be surprised if that happens, to be honest. I think we wanted him badly enough. I think you're not going to sell him after a year. I think he gets given another go to see how he does. If he can stay fit, I think there is a good player in there, but I don't know. Chatsport said Villa have a solid midfield, good balance. Yeah, no, they do. And our midfield's not had balance, for quite a while as well. And a story apparently we can dismiss is one that has come out today, and that's about Ronald Araujo. United are interested, but it's going to cost 80 million to get him. We don't have that money, and he's probably not going to leave Barcelona. So I think that's much. I think that's a story we can dismiss for Araujo. Todibo for 40 million euros, 34 million pounds. Yeah, I think that's a much more doable deal. You're kind of selling to yourself in many regards as well. But it's one of those there ones. A lot of players are not safe in this upcoming window. Let's hope we can move enough of them on. Let's hope we can get some sales in, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out, because we thought that we could do it last year. We thought we would have a big summer in terms of sales. We didn't quite get there. Didn't quite happen. Maybe this year can be better. Maybe this year we've got less pressure on us to sell certain players. Maybe this year we're going to be willing to sell more sellable players. Who knows? Rosette said McTominay take his pay cuts, only way to make him go. No, I don't think so, man. I think you'll find a buyer to pay him 60 grand a week on what he's currently on, 65. But it all depends on whether he wants to go himself. That's going to be key. He might be happy staying here. Rosette said keep Casemiro because Manu will like him. Nah, man, I'm selling Casemiro every day of the week. I'm not paying 300 and something thousand, paying off another 25 million to Real Madrid for Casemiro, who is already beyond done, and looks so slow on the pitch, always diving into tackles. I'm not taking it at this point. The drop off's been massive this year. The more he's ended up in those kind of areas, and the more exposed he's been given, the more running he has to do. I think it's a good thing just to move him on. And I think if the Saudis want him, let them take him by all means. He feels like an Al Nasser signing for sure. And I think Varane goes as well for the same reason, just for the price that his wages would be to renew him on his current deal. Whether or not he's willing to take a pay cut, I don't know. But it's one of those there ones. Anyway, in terms of our likes, guys, we managed to get up to 22, so big ups for that there one. 41 votes on the poll as well. 22% went for 5 players sold in the summer. Well, I suppose that's 1 to 5. I probably should put that in there. 56% are saying 5 to 10 sold this summer. 22% says sell every single one of them. I don't blame you after watching that team so much. Shout out to Lil Wayne as well. Shout out in a million. Top 100k. What I think about Bernardo. Are we talking Bernardo Silva? There's no chance we get Bernardo Silva, man. I think he's a great player, unbelievably great player. But I can't see us getting him. Again, maybe we should have got him when he's at Monaco. Maybe we should have got him when he left Portugal, but we didn't. And we lost out. But he's a hell of a player. And well, we've got a long way to go to 100k. We've got just to 98,000 subs. But yeah, thanks anyway, guys, for the support. Really do appreciate it, as always. I think we're up to 23 likes there. I reckon we'll leave the stream here now anyway, guys. Just think we got to the end of the agenda there. But yeah, I think that'll do for tonight. So thanks so much for watching. Really do appreciate it as well. And guys, make sure to check out United Agenda at 9 o'clock as well. I'm not going to be on there, but go support those guys. They're a great bunch. And yeah, I'll catch everyone in the next one. Have a good Monday night, and hopefully get talking to everyone tomorrow as well.